Hello there everyone, it's Carol here from the Crafty Emporium. I wanted to pop by today because I've had quite a lot of newbies asking questions about Lapbooks, what they're for, what you use them for, where they come from, all that sort of thing. And also I've noticed on group that some people are a little bit like, don't know quite what to do with that. Well, I want to do a few hints and tips as well as a couple of explanations. Now, this that you can see in front of me is the Lapbook that the winner from the challenge will win. I am not showing you the inside. You can see the cover and you can see the back pocket. And as you can tell, I've done it as an Alice in Wonderland themed Lapbook. Okay, I'll show you the top so you can see how stuffed full it is of things. Okay, so that's the Lapbook that whoever I choose will win. So I hope that this inspires you to get involved in the challenge. Now, I've had a couple of people ask me, don't have a YouTube channel. If you don't have a YouTube channel, then you can't enter the challenge to win this, but you can join my Facebook group where I'm running a similar challenge on the group, not to win one of these, it will be to win something smaller. And again, on the same days, the entries will be entered onto the group, and whoever the members of the group choose as the favourite, they will win a prize from me. Okay, so it's not to win a Lapbook, but it is to win something else instead. So if you want to get involved with a challenge to be able to win something, then you either need to have a YouTube channel and enter your Lapbook video into the challenge, and it will be going up on my community page towards the end of the week so that you can start to add the links so that I can go and start to have a look, and other people can also start to have a look. If you want to join in the challenge that's on my group, then you will need to join the group. Now, I do ask that everyone answers the 3 questions, and it is important to do that because otherwise I won't add you. I need to see that you are into doing what we do. I need to make sure that you're not a spammer. All right. I also ask if you're over 18 years of age. I don't need to know your date of birth. I just want you to confirm that you're over 18, for the simple fact that the rules and the regs that were brought into force for YouTube, I have a feeling that they might do the same on Facebook at some point. So I would rather ensure that was me being posh. That was my telephone voice. I would rather ensure that everyone is of a legal age, so that if we have an adult conversation, then, you know, I know that you're old enough. Anyway, you get 3 questions. Please answer them. This is what you will be winning if you get chosen as the winner. All right. Now then, Lapbooks, where do they come from? How did they start? What are they all about? So basically, Lapbooks started from school projects. So if you actually search for Lapbooks, you will come across lots of teachers or homeschooling where they put a couple of these file folders together and they make it into a project book. They don't add all the extra fancy bits and pieces that we do as journalers, but they do get the kids to add little flips and flaps and pockets and things that open, and actually start to make a project in those couple of file folders. Okay, so that's where the Lapbook comes from. What do we use them for as adults? So as you can see, it's stuffed quite full, and it makes a nice big project book. So let's just say that you were going to do something about your garden and you wanted to keep a record, but you wanted it to be a little bit more interesting than just a plain old book. These are great for those sorts of projects. You can also use them for storage places, to keep storage of ephemera and stuff. But as you can see from the depth, you can't get masses in terms of its depth. All right, so it's more of a multi-project book. Okay, so that's where Lapbooks come from. That's what we kind of use them for. What you use them for, really, at the end of the day, is entirely up to you. But that's the general gist of them. Now, I'm going to use an analogy. That's a big word for me first thing on a morning. I'm going to use an analogy, and my analogy is a jigsaw. Putting together a Lapbook is like a jigsaw. So if you imagine you've gone to the charity shop, you've popped in, they've got this jigsaw, you're a fan of jigsaws, but there's no box with a picture on. You still fancy doing a jigsaw anyway, and it's only 10p. So you buy it, you get it home. The first thing that you do is you start to look at some of the little pieces to try and get an indication of what the picture looks like, because you want to get in your mind's eye an overall image, so you know whether you're working with a garden, whether you're working with the seaside, whether you're working with a magical fantasy type image. You want to get an overall picture, but you know that you're not going to get a completed picture, you're going to get an idea. So the first thing is to get an idea. So you need to decide what sort of topic you want to create. So for me, my topic was Alice. The next thing you need to then do, or this is what most people do, is you get your four corners. Because once you've got your four corners, you can then start to work on your straight edges. So actually making the base of this, the substrate, is your four corners. All right, so now we've got this, we can now start working on the straight edge pieces. So the straight edge pieces would be the things like, what sort of pages are you going to add? Now, I know that this particular section has caused some, don't know what to do with that. Well, if you think back to the Love Letters journal, we had a series of hinges that we then attached things to. Okay, so for our straight edges, we're looking at adding all the extra bits and pieces to make it into a workable folder. All right, so we've got the things like really large envelopes, normal size envelopes, CD envelopes, money type envelopes. So these could be part of the straight edges. Now if we look at this really long one, which is an A4, I just fold that flap down so that you can get an idea of its potential size. You can see that it's much bigger, but there's no reason why I can't chop it down, and then I could add that to a hinge. So this could be a hinge, and that could be attached to the hinge. All right, or it could be attached to the hinge and then folded. So then you've got a foldy flippy outie. Okay. If we look at normal size envelopes, again, we could attach this to a hinge, to another hinge, to another hinge, or you could turn it round and maybe add a couple onto the hinge. So once you've decided how you're going to apply all of these things, don't forget you can also cut into these as well. They don't have to stay as one long strip. And again, I based the Love Letters journal on a project that I did for a Christmas album, and I cut into those hinges so that I had individual flips. So there's another thought. So again, we come back to the smaller envelopes, and again we could add several of these along the hinges. Another thought is if you've got cards and envelopes, there's no reason why you can't add the envelopes, as I've just said, but also you could add the cards. So you could add the card on the back of the hinge and flip it open. And if we flip it open, we've also then, we could have a pocket here so that that card covers over what's actually inside of there. So it's about using your imagination. Another thought is bags. So we've got paper bags and we've got glassine bags, and again we could add these again onto our hinges. We could also add them onto the larger pieces to be able to form a pocket. We could also add them onto the likes of this here, but attach it so that it's attached with, say, micropore on both sides, so that it then becomes a flip pocket. Tags, index cards, these are other things that you could use, and especially on the tiered side, again, if we add a tag here, cut down there, add another tag here, we've now elongated that page. Okay, so it's not the size that we've started off with. But think of some of the smaller things as well, so that you've got tickets, you've got belly bands. Could any of those be attached to any of these on here? So you might have decided to add a book page, for instance, on this side, and then when we flip it over, it's like, okay, so what do I do on the back? Well, think about it. Think about some of the smaller things that we could add on the back. And we do tend to use things like belly bands, little envelopes, little bags, all those sorts of things. So it's again about using your imagination. So my hints and tips are, think of this as a jigsaw. Think of it in parts and pieces. Think of some of the basics that you know about journal making. Think about the straight edges that we're going to be adding to our corners. So the envelopes, the book pages, the glassine bags, all those sorts of things. And once you've started to add all of those different bits and pieces to your file folder, that's when you can then start to let your imagination go about how you're going to decorate it. One of the other things that I would suggest is paper clip some of these things in place before you decide that that's where they permanently want to be. See how they all start to fit in. See if you like how they flip and flap and fold. Decide whether you want to decorate them first, because you might decide that this plain envelope, you want to add it, but you want to do some decoupaging on it with napkins first. You might want to do some sewing on it first, and you'll need to do that before you actually glue it into your file folder. So as I say, if you position things in certain ways, get an idea of how it's looking, how it's feeling, and then start to do some of the decorating, then start to add some of those bits. And don't try and do it as a whole, because again, if you're doing a jigsaw, you don't try and do the whole thing. You do a bit each time, and as you do each bit, then you get the impression of what the overall picture's going to look like, and then you know what you're going to start to look for. I need the piece of blue, so you then start to look for all the blue pieces. I need a piece of green for this section down here, so I'm going to start to look for all the green pieces. So if you use the analogy of the jigsaw puzzle, that's what creating a lapbook is like. It's like creating a jigsaw. You start off with your four corners, you start to use your straight edges, and then all the rest of it then comes together through decoration. I hope that's helped a little bit with some ideas, a little bit of an explanation. Look through some of the old ephemera videos, see what ideas you can get from there. Jot some notes down, paper clip stuff in place to see if you like those ideas. Now, it's not a quick project, this. It takes a little bit of time, it takes a little bit of thinking about. And look at the supplies that you've got, look at some of the ideas that you've already used, and then you can start to build the picture bit by bit by bit. So here endeth today's lesson, because as you can hear, my voice is going, so I need to go and get another cup of tea and Thank you very much for joining me. See you all again really soon. Bye for now.